Welcome back to the Fractured Mind, where today we will be discussing somatic dissociative disorders. Let's break the stigma together. Now, before we introduce our lovely guest, we're going to get into a little bit about somatic symptoms and these disorders. So, they are mental health conditions where a person experiences physical symptoms like pain, fatigue, or health complaints that are very real to them, but they can't always be fully explained by a medical condition. The symptoms cause significant emotional distress and interferes with an individual's daily life. Many people confuse somatic disorders with faking it, but that is not the case. They are experiencing true pain, and though people don't understand it, it makes it hard for them to believe. This completely invalidates their feelings and experiences and often agitates their mental health condition. Disorder usually has tremendous effects on all aspects of that individual's life, such as missing work, withdrawing from social events and activities, seeing family and friends, living in constant fear and stress of their health. They often, have higher medical bills and they're always in an emotional catastrophic state. Treatment often includes cognitive behavior therapy, stress management techniques, antidepressants, and building trust with healthcare providers to avoid unnecessary tests. Too often, people with somatic disorders feel dismissed or misunderstood. Raising awareness helps people to get compassionate care that they deserve, reducing stigma and encouraging early intervention, improving their outcomes of life. So, without further ado, I'm going to invite Mr. Mitchell, who will introduce disorder to us. Dissociative disorder is something that we don't really know much about, especially here within Jamaica. It's rarely spoken about, but it is highly important. Mr. Mitchell, we welcome you.
Hello there. Thank you so much for having me on your today so that we were able to discuss this very impertinent disorder.
And thank you for taking the busy time out of your schedule to be here. So, what exactly is dissociative disorders? Or, what exactly is it? Can you walk us through what this dissociation is? What does it feel like? What's it about?
All right. So dissociative disorder is one of the lesser known, lesser talked about, lesser acknowledged disorders or classification of disorders that there is. And this is classified by involuntary, disconnection between your thoughts and your consciousness or your memory. So it's basically where in your mind and the body or personalities within one's mind or body is not connected. They're separated. For instance, there is derealization and depersonalization, with derealization being where a person feels outside of their body. So it's almost as if they're a third party watching their body, looking at their limbs, wondering, if they are real, like they're having a reality crisis. And with the realization is where in the situation that they're in, it's almost as if they're watching it from, outside of that. They're not in the situation. They're not there. So that's depersonalization and derealization as it relates to dissociation. Dissociation comes with sometimes dissociative amnesia or dissociative fugu. The amnesia being that they forget what it is that they had experienced. For whatever reason, they forget that entire experience. And with dissociative fugu, it's almost as if they can't form new memories. So that's what dissociation is like. It's a disconnection between mind and body. As Christians, a lot of people say that or we are complete because our soul is in our body. With dissociation, it's as though your soul and your body are separate yet continually existing.
Thank you for that, Mr. Mitchell. That's definitely a mouthful. And that only goes to show that many of us are uneducated, really and truly, about dissociative disorders. Because I myself have never heard of dissociative overload. So we have to broaden our spectrum in knowledge to build awareness and assist those with these different mental health conditions. So there are some symptoms that you would have named. And while I feel like this is an occurrence that we may experience one or twice in life, but we've never really had a pinpoint name for it, is it normal to dissociate, or is it always a disorder whenever these occurrences really happen?
All right. So it is very normal for us to dissociate as human beings. In fact, 50 to 74% of people actually dissociate at different point in time
Oh,
of their lives, especially, sorry, when they're going through a very stressful, intense situation that is emotionally intense or physically intense. They would experience dissociation. Like I said, it's where your mind and body seem to be different at the same time. Where it becomes an issue, however, is where you are dissociating from a big chunk of your life, or where trauma is causing you to not remember certain things, and where it's affecting your memory and your consciousness, and you're making decisions that you aren't really knowing about. That's when it really becomes a problem. But most persons do dissociate from time to time.
okay, thank you for that. So, how can we differentiate dissociative disorders with schizophrenia, which, based on what you're saying, often display similar traits?
All right. So with schizophrenia, which I know you will discuss further later on, it has a lot to do with delusions and seeing things that are not there and experiencing situations that aren't there. With dissociative disorders, in reality, everything that is experienced is there. It's a human being living their life. However, the issue is, and the difference is that with dissociative disorder, you forget a big chunk of it, or you're experiencing it without knowing that you're experiencing it. You're not realizing that it's real. You don't think it's real, but it actually is real. So it's not a dream, it's a memory. And the memory sometimes may seem things that are farther back in your memory could feel as though it happened yesterday. So those are the things that we would see with dissociative disorder that really differentiates it from schizophrenia. So it's a real life situation you're experiencing, but you're forgetting it. Your consciousness is disconnected. You're having multiple personalities within your mind, etc.
Okay. And how might trauma play a role in the development of this disorder?
So trauma actually plays the biggest role in dissociative disorders with, for example, dissociative identity disorder, which is also known as multiple personality disorder. That is where a person has developed basically different personalities, like there are more than one person within the same body. That is mainly attributed to extreme sexual trauma that a person experienced, and so they create these, well, their minds create these new personas to either cope or to help each other, or to not, pretend as though this person doesn't exist within themselves. With other dissociative disorders, when you're in very stressful situations, especially, but trauma really relates to most of these dissociative disorders, because what your brain is trying to do is create a new environment that, the trauma isn't in this persona, it isn't in this line of memory, so it forgets the traumatic experience. It's almost as if it didn't happen. Or when it comes on to talking about certain things, it just shuts off and then shuts on when you're not experiencing that. But trauma is the major factor here.
Trauma is always a big play. And we know Freud would have so much to say about that one. So, how can friends or family support someone who struggles with dissociation?
Well, if you know somebody that that has a dissociative disorder, what is recommended is that if you see them dissociating for whatever reason, try to get them back to reality. Try to keep them away from triggers and trauma as well. The person would first need to unearth what exactly is causing them to dissociate, so that we can then assist from there, so that they can let their friends and family know that, hey, certain things will trigger me into dissociating, and so they can help. We can do is validate them not remembering certain experiences if that is the symptom that they're presenting, or helping them regain a full understanding of exactly what it is that happened, not letting them feel crazy or insane for dissociating, because like I said, it's a normal thing. It's just affecting people differently.
And how is it typically treated?
Well, cognitive behavioral therapy is the biggest treatment factor because it's not a depressive type of, disorder or something that we can just give you a pill or medication for you. Like I said, it's this connection between your consciousness and your mind. There is no pill that's going to get into your subconscious and your memories to really, let you continuously experience life like that. So CBT, getting into the stressors that you may be having, unearthing the traumas that you have had. That way, we can really solve the situation from where it is actually rooted. That is what treatment is like.
And we can definitely see where cognitive behavioral therapy comes up again and again. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Mitchell, informing us, educating us on the ladder of dissociative disorders. We thank you for being here.